MSU Mankato has a new course offering for robotics and artificial intelligence. These degrees are cutting edge. Aaron Stuvey explains how the college plans on teaching in an ever-evolving industry.
More additions to the technology and research capabilities of MSU Mankato, the university has announced the launch of 2 new degree programs, both starting this fall. Students can now pursue a bachelor's degree in robotics engineering or a master's degree in artificial intelligence.
We have the industry support. We have the interest from high schools.
The robotics degree is the first of its kind in Minnesota, and the AI Masters is the first in the Minnesota state system. Graduates will be expected to be able to jump right into the area's large industrial sector, and the college says that the additions are the result of a demand both from the industry and prospective students.
If you look around the college in Minnesota and the neighboring state, there is no university that offers 4-year degrees, bachelor degrees for robotics engineering.
The program additions are part of a larger effort by the university to bolster its science technology programs. That includes the launch of a summer robotics camp a few weeks ago. Leaders of the department say that while the excitement is high for the program, it'll come with a lot of work, as staying on the cutting edge of newly developing technology is a challenge at every level.
The most important thing there is to prepare our faculty so they are ready to teach the material in the class. In general, engineering and science disciplines, they evolve really fast. And in these 2 particular areas, actually, they're changing, I would say, on a monthly basis.
In Mankato, Aaron Stuvey, KUIC News Now.